Hey, what's up guys? It's Lucas and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, scroll down, click the subscribe button. It really helps me out. Also, you can click the bell if you'd like to get notifications every time I upload a new video. So I reached out to Warmoth recently about doing some video stuff. And if you're not familiar, Warmoth is probably the sort of premier manufacturer of kind of aftermarket parts, bodies, necks, things like that. So you can get all kinds of different, wood combinations and colors, whether you want it painted or unpainted, or, just all kinds of cool stuff. So if you have a guitar and the neck goes out, or, it's just not what you're looking for, you can get a replacement part from Warmoth that more suits your needs. Same thing with the body. And they also have all kinds of other parts and stuff too. So definitely check Warmoth out. So I reached out to Warmoth and I was talking to him about doing some videos. And one that I kind of expressed interest in doing is a comparison between a standard maple neck and a roasted maple neck. So roasted maple, if you are familiar, is essentially they take regular maple, just like you would see on any kind of standard guitar, and they take it and they put it in an oven where they've removed the oxygen, and or at least most of the oxygen, I think. So I think I'm getting this right. But anyway, they cook it in there, and so that kind of just like removes all the moisture, or most of the moisture, from the neck. And it has a couple effects, one of which is it changes the color. So you're left with a color like this, which is kind of like a woody caramel type color. And there's a couple of reasons that you would want to do this. One of which is, well, I mean, one, if you like the color, that's its own thing. But it makes these necks, or anything made of roasted maple, it makes it very, very sturdy, in the sense that when it saps all that moisture out, it makes them very hard and resonant and stiff. And so as a neck wood, roasted maple is really cool because it's so sturdy and it doesn't really care so much about the climate change thing, which necks often, can kind of like move one way or the other, as the seasons change, or if it's humid or dry. And so roasted maple doesn't care so much about that. It might still be affected a little bit, but not too much. And also roasted maple, aside from the look, because it is cooked the way that it is and it is so stable, it doesn't require a finish on it. Whereas if you have a plain maple neck, you're going to want to put some kind of finish on it. And that's why the major companies do that, because otherwise it is susceptible to all kinds of stuff happening with the frets, or the neck warping or twisting or something. Whereas roasted maple, you don't have to put a finish on it and it will hold up just fine. But what I was curious about is how much different a roasted maple neck would sound in comparison to a standard maple neck. So this is my stock, well, I say stock. The neck is a stock neck from Fender from, like I said, about 1992, I think. And this is just a plain maple neck, as you can see. So it's got that normal kind of plain maple color. Same thing, maple fingerboard. It's all kind of one piece. And what I have done is I've put a set of locking Fender tuners on here, and I've let the strings long enough that I can, what I'm going to do is do some recordings direct into my interface. I'm not going to use any amp modeling or anything. I'm just going to hear the DI guitar sound, and then we're going to use a frequency analyzer, and then I'm going to take this neck off, use the same tuners and the same strings, and replace it with the other neck, and then do the same kind of thing, use the frequency analyzer, and then so you'll be able to hear the difference audibly, but we can also look and see with the frequency analyzer, is there a notable difference? Is there something happening? Let's go ahead and check out what the plain maple sounds like, and then we'll do the roasted maple. All right, so there you go. There's kind of a reasonably scientific comparison between roasted maple necks and plain maple necks. So let me tell you what I observed and what I noticed. So first of all, tonally speaking, didn't seem too different. It did to me seem like maybe the roasted maple was a bit fuller, like kind of in the sort of lower mid-range area, like the 200 to 500 kind of hertz area. And it seemed like maybe the plain maple had like a little bit more snap on the very top end, like the really high stuff. And of course, like I said, you know, there's other little things that are happening, like the frets and the nut and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, it could be a little different. And there's also, you know, I played the part twice, so, you know, it's hard to do a really, really scientific comparison with a human playing the part twice, because inevitably there is some difference in my attack. But to me, it did seem like maybe the roasted maple neck was a little bit on the, like, darker and maybe fatter in the bottom. So, you know, take that for what you will. One thing I definitely noticed, though, is that the roasted maple neck, in this case, seems to have a longer sustain, a longer decay than the plain maple neck. Now, that could have something to do with the amount of wood, because, like I said, this is a bigger profile neck. There's more wood there. But, yeah, to me, it did seem like when I would hit a chord and hold it, like on the very end of that little thing there, that the roasted maple would just ring out longer. And it feels that way in your hands too. Not that there's anything wrong with the plain maple, but this particular roasted maple neck to me feels very alive and resonant. You know, when I hit a chord, even if I just hit it unplugged here, you know, I can just feel it resonating through the whole, everything, you know, it's still going, which is cool. So yeah, basically it comes down to, you know, what you like, what sounds better to you, what feels better to you, what looks better to you. Things to be aware of with the differences between roasted maple and plain maple. As I said before, plain maple is going to need a finish on it if it doesn't have one already. Roasted maple does not. So that's kind of a feel thing more than anything. You could argue that there's some tonal stuff happening there, but it would be very minute. And roasted maple is very hard, so if you get a roasted maple neck from somewhere like Warmoth, which I will leave a link to in the description, just be aware that if you're drilling for things like string trees or tuners or something like that, make sure that you accurately drill the size of that hole, both wide enough and deep enough for the screw. And I would also recommend, if you're going to use you know, screws to hold the tuners in or something, I would lubricate the threads of those screws, and you know, with like just a little like bar of soap kind of thing, because it is so hard in comparison to plain maple that if you're not careful and you start twisting down a screw, you could pretty easily strip the head of the screw out, which I've done before on a roasted maple neck, because I just wasn't used to you know, how hard it was. But I think that's a good thing in the long run, but that's just something to be aware of. But outside of that, you know, which one you like the tone of better, you know, which one you like the look of better. Of course, you know, the plain maple is much more traditional kind of look for this kind of guitar. But I really like roasted maple. I think it looks cool and elegant, and it feels fantastic. If you like, you know, the unfinished wood thing, this is just great. It feels super smooth and silky, and you just feel the whole thing resonate in your hands, and it's very inspiring to play. So definitely check one of these out if you haven't, just so that you can get the experience. You know, there's several companies that are making guitars with roasted maple necks, and/or, like I said, you can go through Warmoth, and they will, you know, they have a million different neck shapes, profiles, scale lengths, different frets, nuts, headstock shapes, whatever. They have pretty much anything you could possibly want. And it doesn't have to, of course, doesn't have to have a roasted maple fingerboard on it if you want, you know, ebony or rosewood or, you know, whatever. They do all that as well. So this is just the example that I chose because I wanted to go straight from a maple, just plain maple neck with a maple fingerboard, to a roasted maple neck with a maple fingerboard. And I'm really happy with it. I think it sounds great. So thanks to the guys at Warmoth, Aaron, for sending this out to me to check out. I hope this has been informative for you, and let me know what you think, what differences you hear, and until next time, I will catch you later.